It takes sincere commitment to deal with the intricacies of nature and incorporate them into a space. And this guy has stayed genuinely steadfast in embracing naturally available materials for his architectural designs.
One of my philosophies is that everything that God designed actually is already beautiful in any human being's eyes. And so that's basically stone, leaves, soil, wood, and so on and so forth. So as human beings, I think we're naturally programmed to find all of these things beautiful. And once we get, these natural materials and put it in the house or in any space for that matter, then we naturally, I guess, find it as beautiful aesthetically. My name is Jason Buensalido. I'm the Chief Design Ambassador of Buensalido Architects. For us as a firm, it's really to contemporize Filipino architecture, and we do that by fusing our designs with global aesthetics and local sensibilities. I mentioned that one of our practices is to always base our designs on the Filipino culture. And there's a huge portion of the Filipino culture that's always tied to natural materials. Like you'll see the bahay kubo that's made of nipa, you'll see the bahay na bato that's made out of adobe stone, and so on and so forth. And the usage of these materials that we try to incorporate in our designs. And what fascinates me about that is that there's always a homey feel to it whenever you see like material that comes from nature inside your house. There's actually two ways that we go about it. We try to convert a natural material into a modern form. And one of our favorite projects is actually this one because it's a clear manifestation of the firm's sensibilities, which is to fuse natural materials with contemporary. So we actually call it Project Banig. And if you think about it, the banig, the typical traditional banig, is really just a woven material from leaves. And so we transformed that idea and converted it into a contemporary form. So obviously the main design feature of this project is really the ceiling. What we wanted to do was to create a homogeneous kind of space by unifying and blurring the boundaries between the living room and the bedroom and vice versa. And so we broke down this wall. To further connect the two, we created this ceiling that's undulating. And the way that we did it is we abstracted again that idea of a banig, but we deconstructed it and then we abstracted it, put it back together to sort of become an architectural element. So from the ceiling, we brought it down to become the wall. It really resulted in something that looks like a cocoon. Some people actually call this a cocoon look, and we had fun doing this, although of course there were a lot of challenges, especially when it came to the build part. One of the biggest challenges for any natural material is unexpected behavior. Like for example, you'll never find a piece of wood that's identical to another. As a homeowner or as a client, for example, you have to come into terms with that anything natural can behave erratically. Like if you want a perfectly symmetrical stone floor, you'll never get that because that's actually the beauty of natural materials, that it varies from tile to tile or it varies from panel to panel, so on and so forth. But I think that's really the beauty of it because you know that it's authentically a natural material. And then, of course, to build anything that's curvilinear is very difficult. And so we cut it out into different planar segments, fused it together or wove everything together to come up with a ceiling that's pretty much like this. There's actually not a lot of need to over-decorate the space because the ceiling itself is the source of the beauty of the space itself. But aside from that, we always interject a lot of touches of natural materials, like you'll see in some of the closets, you see wood, and you'll see in some of the countertops, you'll see stone. And so only really touches because we combine it with concrete finishes, which is really a modern material. It's a distinct and clear example of how we fuse modern materials represented by the concrete and natural materials represented by the wood, the stone, and fusing it together into a singular space. Well, I always tell people that our innovative and progressive ideas are only as good as how far the client is willing to go with them. And I guess the kind of clients that we attract are the same like-minded people who are also forward thinkers, who are also avant-garde in their own, spheres of influence, and those who are not afraid to try out new ideas and progressive ideas. And therefore, a space like this can really result to that.